Dyslexia literally means blindness for words. People with dyslexia often have trouble reading and writing words and sentences. This is caused by a brain malfunction in the area which links characters to sounds. Consequently, dyslexics have to rethink every word they read and write. They are usually slow readers and have a sloppy handwriting. So what is different in individuals with dyslexia? Dyslexia is a brain disorder, and looking at the human brain you can divide it into the right and left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is mostly involved in spatial awareness, whereas the left hemisphere is mostly responsible for language. The cause of dyslexia is not yet clear. However, researchers propose 3 theories on the cause of dyslexia, one of which centers around the division of this hemisphere function. This theory proposes that in people with dyslexia, the left hemisphere is developed slower than in people without dyslexia. This causes underdevelopment of the region responsible for language. Did you know that dyslexia occurs more often in left-handed individuals? This is because the left hemisphere is also responsible for the control of your right hand. In contrast, left-handedness is influenced by the right hemisphere, which is often better developed in people with dyslexia.
Yay!
A second theory proposes that processing of language is slower in the brains of people with dyslexia than it is in the brains of people without. The final theory proposes that brain areas involved in the recognition and analysis of words show lower activity in individuals with dyslexia. Respectively, these theories cover brain development, speed of processing, and the intensity at which the brain processes this information. Current scientific ideas link these abnormalities to gene function and their influence on the brain. But what exactly happens in the brain? When you're reading, it seems like it's your eyes that do all the work. You look at the words and you seem to directly know their meaning. In reality, your eyes only see the words as a code that needs to be deciphered. That's where your brain comes in. So let's take a look inside your brain. We already know that it is divided into 2 hemispheres. Now the left hemisphere contains 2 areas dedicated to language. These are called the Broca's and Wernicke's area. Broca's area is mainly responsible for producing the sounds that go with words. This is important in speech and when reproducing the sound of words that you read in your head. On the other hand, Wernicke's area functions in interpreting language and understanding the words that you read. The way these areas couple sounds to words and interpret them also makes certain languages harder for dyslexics, such as English. This is because English has a lot of different pronunciations to the same combination of letters, such as through, rough, and thorough. This is in contrast to some other languages, such as Italian, Dutch, or German. So does having dyslexia have any influence on our behavior? Well, people with dyslexia often show certain behavioral signs. They are often prone to stuttering, ear infection, and ADHD. And furthermore, people with dyslexia commonly have more difficulty tying their shoes, distinguishing left from right, and remembering things that have no meaning to them, and suffer from a delayed development of speech. Have you ever wondered if there are any differences between men and women that have dyslexia? If you recall the theories on how dyslexia is induced, you might have already noticed that genes play a major role in this phenomenon. But did you also know that men are more prone to have dyslexia than women?
You've got some serious problems.
Perhaps you've already experienced that the average writing scores of men are lower than the female average. But why? Well, it seems that the male brain develops slower due to an overproduction of testosterone in comparison to the female brain. This also makes men more playful at higher ages. Another reason is that some genetic differences in individuals with dyslexia are located on the X chromosome. Females have 2 X chromosomes, allowing them to correct a dysfunctional gene on one of the chromosomes with another. In males, however, only 1 X chromosome is present, and every defect that presents itself will be expressed. This could be another reason why dyslexia occurs more often in men than in women. So in which ways can dyslexics train their brain? There is actually no single solution to dyslexia. There are, however, several methods that are thought to have a positive influence on people with dyslexia. These methods can be taught at home, at school, or in therapy. And in most cases, dyslexics are trained intensively on reading and writing by repeating. Scientific research shows that dyslexics perform better when using multiple senses whilst reading. For example, it is easier for them to understand a text when they both read and hear the words written on paper. The reason for this is that more brain areas become active when using more senses. As such, the information is processed by more than one brain area. A recent investigation into this phenomenon revealed that there might be a connection between musical rhythm and reading. This research concluded that using musical therapy could stimulate certain brain areas associated with music and language. There are many different forms of dyslexia. In fact, there are so many forms of dyslexia that each person should be treated individually. Luckily, however, several classes can be identified that have certain characteristic traits. For example, in perceptual dyslexia, the left hemisphere is barely used, which makes comprehensive reading difficult. Although they read slowly, they do so very accurately. Another form is lingual dyslexia. Individuals with this form read and interpret too quickly, which causes impulsive reading mistakes. Several other forms of dyslexia are auditory and eidetic dyslexia and dysphasia. So do we have to feel sorry for people with dyslexia? Certainly not. It's even shown that people with dyslexia have great imagination, can quickly establish links between situations, and are shown to think in the bigger picture. Great actors like Jennifer Aniston, Orlando Bloom, and Jim Carrey have dyslexia. And even some famous idols are believed to have had dyslexia, like George Washington, Pablo Picasso, Robbie Williams, and John Lennon. Even the brain behind Apple, Steve Jobs, had dyslexia. So don't feel sorry for people with dyslexia, but embrace the qualities that they have to offer.